Andhra Pradesh from 1977 to 1979. He took his monastic vows in 1981 from Vireshwaranandji Maharaj, a disciple of Sharda Devi, spiritual consort of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. From 1979 to 1986, Maharaj assisted in building up the new Ramakrishna Mission Hospital at Itanagar, Arunachal Pradesh. From then onwards, Maharaj was in various administrative capabilities at the Ramakrishna Mission, different branches like along High School in Arunachal Pradesh, Kolkata Seva Pratishthan, and Ranchi TB Sanatorium. From 2017 to 2014, Maharaj was the president of Ramakrishna Center of South Africa in Durban. From 2015 to 26 June 2018, Maharaj was president of Singapore Ramakrishna Mission. Swami Vimokshananda Maharaj regularly conducts spiritual classes on Gita, Upanishad, Puranas, and delivers religious discourses on topic of interest concerned with the spiritual ideas of Ramakrishna, Sharda, and Vivekananda. Maharaj is deeply interested in promoting Vedanta as a suitable tool for the modern ways of life. He also facilitates a deeper understanding among various sects of Hinduism by interacting with intra-religious group leaders, likewise multi-racial, multi-religious societies. Maharaj advocates harmony of faiths propounded by Sri Ramakrishna as the main plan for maintaining global peace. Thank you, Maharaj. Now I call upon Sangamitra to sing Arati.
Pranam Maharaj and good evening devotees. Khandana Bhava Bandana Jaga Vandana Vandito Mai Niranjana Nararupadhara Niranjana Nararupadhara Niraguna Gunamai Jaga Bhushana Chidgana Kai Gyananjana Vimalanayana Gyananjana Vimalanayana Mohajoy Sampadadava Sripada Bhava Gospada Vari Premarapana Premarapana Samadarshana Joy Sampada Tava Sripada Bhava Hospada Variyathai Premara Para Samdarshana Jaga Jana Dukha Joy नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्य मनातीत नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्य मनातीत मन वचने का धार प्रभु मन वचने का धार ज्योतिर ज्योति उज्जल हृदि कंदर ज्योतिर ज्योति उज्जल हृदि कंदर तुमी तब भंजनहार प्रभु तुमी तब भंजनहार दे 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 लंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग संग मृदंग दे 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 लंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग संग मृदंग गाइছে চন্দ ভগত বৃন্দ আরতি তোমার গাইছে চন্দ ভগত বৃন্দ আরতি তোমার জয় জয় আরতি তোমার হর হর আরতি তোমার শিব শিব আরতি তোমার খণ্ডন ভাব বন্দন জগ বন্দন বন্দিত তোমায় जय श्री गुरु महाराज की जय जय महामाय की जय जय स्वामी जी महाराज की जय
Thank you, Sangamitra Chaudhary. Now, I request Maharaj to give us some light on relationship of Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna. Maharaj.
अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः हरिः ओम् ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरामकृष्णाय Dear devotees and friends, it's always a pleasure to meet the devotees and also the known persons once again through this Muscat web satsang. Somewhere or the other, you'll be finding the web satsangs are going on. How many saints have taken part in these type of web satsangs? How many places these are being held? And it is something wonderful to see the internet nowadays is so many spiritual discourses and most relevant to us on Master, Mother and Swamiji. So in one of these series, today I am before you. I'm so happy to meet every one of you again. One of your devotees has suggested through Amaresh that this topic would be preferable. The topic is Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda, a unique relationship. Now, can you call it unique? Because in our tradition, say from the time of taking Vedavyasa, who is supposed to be our first guru and whose birthday is celebrated as Guru Purnima by all the Hindus all over the world. From that time onwards, if you see, the Guru Sishya Parampara, as we call it, the lineage of the teacher and the taught, the Guru and the disciple. This has been coming for long, long time. There were many, many gurus, so also there were many, many Sishyas, disciples. So even in our own time, we are proud to say that we are initiated by so-and-so Guru Maharaj. When we say that, we also claim, yes, we are the disciple of a particular guru. So this guru-shishya relationship is something wonderful, no doubt. But this is that we see everywhere. So what has become a normal, ordinary relationship, can you call it something extraordinary relationship? In the sense, can you call the relationship between Guru Sri Ramakrishna and the disciple Swami Vivekananda as something unique? So if you find in the history, yes, there are many gurus, there are many disciples, okay. And not all the disciples' relationship with their guru can be called extraordinary or unique. Not all the gurus, their instructions to the disciples cannot be called also extraordinary. Why? There are many factors in between comes. Factor of, say, the guru must be living. Sometimes we go for diksha for guru, we have diksha, and within 1 year, we don't have the guru with us. The guru has left his body. So there is a cutoff in the physical sense. The guru is cut off. So you don't have the opportunity to be with the guru, to stay with the guru, and do some service to the guru. Now you find there are other factors also that come into play that do not make the relationship what can be termed as unique. So if it has to be unique, how do you fix a parameter to call this relationship as unique? I will naturally take you to Kathopanishad. Kathopanishad is Upanishad, one of the major Upanishads, which has been very fascinating for study for Swami Vivekananda. He used to quote from Kathopanishad in many places. At many of his lectures, we find that. And he had a great fascination for not only for the story content of the Kathopanishad, but also the Advaita Vedanta. Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, has written commentary on that. And he was very fond of that. So you find that Swami Vivekananda himself was fascinated, as I told you, the story content also. In that story content, one young boy comes. His name was Nachiketas. For our purpose, we call him Nachiketa. The name was Nachiketas. So this Nachiketa was such a boy. He had such audacity to tell his father that what you are doing is wrong. And the father tells him, oh, because you are asking me the question, as I am giving the cows to so many Brahmanas, so you are asking where you are going to give me. That is a very bad question. The father felt offended and he cursed him, I am going to give you to death. So the boy thinks and he goes to death. You see, that's the beauty of these stories, though it may be a somewhat mythology is included in that story, but the story has got certain meaning. That's why these are coming ancient from so many years we are seeing this. So the boy goes to Yama and has a beautiful conversation. That conversation, once the conversation has been done, and Yama has taught him what to be taught. So the Kathopanishad, the Upanishad speaks of the glory of such a great guru like Lord Yama and a great Shishya like Nachiketa. What it says the truths that has been spoken by Lord Yama, many people must have heard. It is not something new. As we say, Sri Ramakrishna has come to establish the dharma. Nothing new he spoke. Swami Vivekananda spoke nothing new as such. But according to the time, the teachings were made. So you find that, so in that way also, what Yama told was not something new in that time itself, because the same ideas you find in other Upanishads, in other timings also, other great rishis have been talking about that. If you go to Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, you can see Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, how grand name it has got. You will find such ideas are being discussed in the august assembly of the great sages and saints. So, not that whoever listens to these truths understands properly. So, if Shravana yabi bahurbibhyo na labhyaha, that is what Kathopanishad says. So those people who have been hearing it again and again also, they have not obtained it. In the same manner, Shrunuvantopi Bahavo, many people, even in spite of listening to that, Yam na vidyuhu, they have not understood. What they have not understood, Yam, that is what it says. What they have not understood, these truths, these great Vedantic truths. You hear many times, you listen many times, and still it is not understandable. Then it says here, in this context, what Yama is and what this Nachiketa is, now you see the difference. So the sage says that Ascharyo Vakta. Here, completely understood. The Guru says something, Guru says, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that. That very words, 3 words only, spoken by Guru. And Shishya is sitting under his feet. And Shishya says, Aham Brahmasmi. Here also 3 words, Aham Brahma Asmi. So when Guru gives this education, thou art that, the disciple replies, I am that Brahman. So the perfect alignment of the Guru and the disciple in understanding a matter that has been transferred from Guru to disciple. If it is in a perfect way, then what you should say? You should say the Guru is Ascharyo Bhakta. Bhakta, the speaker, is Aschar, is wonderful. You know, the term wonderful has been used by me many times. I generally use at many places this wonderful word. The word, even Upanishad speaks about that. Ascharyo Bhakta. Ascharya means that you are surprised. That means it is wonderful. Then only you say surprised. Then Kushalosya Labdha. Labdha, that means the person who is receiving that knowledge is Kushalosya. Kushala means talented. When I teach you a mathematics and you immediately grasp it, I don't need to tell you second time. That means you are a Kushala. You have got a talent. Likewise, it says, Ascharyo Gyata. The person who knows, he is also wonderful. Likewise, Kushala Anusishta. Anusishta, one who follows the teachings in his life, he is also talented. So these wonderful terms are used in Upanishads with this, taking this as a parameter to find the relationship between Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Kanda. That is what we are going to do it. This Ascharyo Bhakta Kushalosya Labdha. The Guru is also great and the disciple is also great. Otherwise, how do you account for that the great Parabrahman, the Supreme Brahman, who is taking different forms at different ages, coming as Avatar Purusha, this time decided to come to Bengal? There are many places. Is it not? Kapilavastu was there when the divine being came as Buddha. And Nadia district is there in Bengal, Chaitanya came. And you go to Jerusalem, Jesus came. Likewise, there are great saints have come at many places. The incarnations have happened earlier at many places. This time, he came to Bengal. So the question may be put, why Sri Ramakrishna's avatara chose Bengal specifically this time? Well, there can be many, many reasons. Of course, the question itself is a very simplistic question, I find. It's not at all proper to limit Sri Ramakrishna only to Bengal, And he has broke open many, many shackles of many, many that, what do you call the upadhis, whether it is caste, you'd say, whether you call dharma, or you call anything. He broke all the upadhis, all the limitations, and became a universal guide to everyone. That universal guide, you cannot put it in one place, or one language, or one caste, etc. So that is what has happened. But then, if you want to see why he has to come to Bengal, one reason I would say because of Swamiji. Why? What made that great Parabrahman to take a form of Ramakrishna to come to Bengal that is because of Swamiji, I say. Why Swamiji? I'll just read one paragraph from the great master. Swami Saradanji has written, what Sri Ramakrishna saw Narendra, when he first saw Narendra, and what he told other disciples. He says, one day, Sri Ramakrishna says, I saw through Samadhi, my mind was going up by a luminous path, a great luminous path before me, and I am walking in that luminous path. What has happened? Going beyond the gross world studded with sun, moon, and stars. It entered first of all into the subtle world of ideas. You see, there are many, many spheres are there. Atmosphere, stratosphere. There are like that, many spheres are there. So idea sphere also is there. In the same place only where we are living, all these spheres are there. So Sri Ramakrishna Samadhi, he was taken to a sphere of ideas. And then he sees that the more it began to ascend to higher and higher strata of that realm, the more did I see beautiful ideal forms of deities existing on both sides of the path. You see, Sri Ramakrishna is walking on a luminous path, and both sides he's seeing beautiful form of deities. That means all the deities that you worship, that he has heard of, they're all sitting there and in their beautiful, wonderful form. And then he says, it came gradually to the last extremity of that region. Suppose the horizon, you see that must be the last extremity. So he has come to the last portion. And then what he sees? I saw a fence made of light there, separating the realm of the divisible from the indivisible. So a fencing has been put on. Who has put the fence? In Samadhi, he's seeing a fence, and fence made of light. Already he's walking the luminous path, and he's seeing a fence made of light. And that light is separating two portions. One portion is called divisible, and another portion is called indivisible. One is called Vyayam, another is called Avyayam. So that is the region where Sri Ramakrishna has gone into Samadhi. And he says, I saw that there was no more any person or thing having a form. That means all the forms have been melted in the realm of indivisibility. And there he says, I saw, as if afraid to enter there, even the gods and goddesses possessing heavenly bodies exercised their authority over realms far below. Even the gods, he says, that they were as if they are afraid to enter there because they will lose their forms, because no form is possible there. At that time, the very next moment, I saw 7 wise rishis having bodies consisting of divine light only. How beautifully Sri Ramakrishna puts it, for our understanding. He says, I saw 7 rishis. Don't immediately think rishis mean with a long beard and with a jata and put on a chadar on his body and is sitting deep in meditation. No, not such thing. All these 7 bodies he saw were made of light, luminosity. It has also no form. But what Sri Ramakrishna perceived them as rishis. And he says, I felt that in virtue and knowledge, love and renunciation, they had excelled even the gods and goddesses, that means devatas. Even these rishis have excelled them, the devatas also, not to speak of human beings, naturally. Astonished, I was pondering over the greatness when I saw before me that part of the homogeneous mass of light of the abode of the indivisible, that is Abhyaya, that indivisible abode, that portion, the mass of homogeneity has suddenly assumed a form of a child, as if become solidified and converted into a form of a divine child. What a beautiful description, you see. And that child goes to that one of the rishis and telling him, come down with me. And then the child goes down. Why I am telling you this instance a little, and then I telling you because here Sri Ramakrishna says, I saw in the samadhi that the rishi who started following the child has come down to the earth, came and was born in Simla. You see, to Bhuvaneshwari Devi. This is what his vision says. So if he could see that rishi is coming to Shimla, do you think that Ramakrishna will be born in some other place or any other place, unless it is nearer to that Simla, where the boy can meet him later? If he is born, say, for instance, in Ireland, would Naren have got that opportunity to go and meet him? Doubtful. So this type of, there are many reasons are there why Sri Ramakrishna came to Bengal. So one of the important attraction, before the birth of Vivekananda, Ramakrishna had established a connection with the disciple. This is what I'm going to tell you, as a unique nature of the relationship starts here. This unique nature, we do not know. In most of the gurus and sishyas biographies, we read them. Shishya comes to the guru and guru is also very kind to the shishya and the relationship is very nice. Like that we read. But here we get for the first time that the guru knows that his disciple, before they took the form of the human body. I consider this as something astonishing, and I consider this as a unique thing. And then once they have taken form as a human body, and then you find that how they come together in many of the stories we all know, that Sri Ramakrishna's name was not known to Naren till he was 16 years old. He has not heard it. But because Surendra requested Sri Ramakrishna to visit his home, and he had celebrated some festival in his home, at that time, the singer absented. So immediately Surendra thought, hey, my Ramchandra is my neighbor. Why not I tell him? He has got a relations in one boy who can sing very well like that, I have heard. So he went and told Ramchandra, can you please get your nephew? And Ramchandra said, okay, I will call him. So Naren was called on that day. So in Sureshendra's house, for the first time, Ramakrishna meets Swami Vivekananda, whom both of them have already met in that the realm of indivisibility. as a rishi and as a baby. They already met. So now this is considered as the first meeting of Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. Actually, it should be the second meeting, because first meeting has already been done. Now, after this, there, you know that Narendra sings there, Ramakrishna was very happy, and he inquires from Surendra, who is this boy, what is he doing, etc. And then he goes back. And he tells him, please, you come to Dakshineswar, invite him. And Vivekananda says, it's all right. You know, for Naren, it was not a big matter at that time. He didn't feel anything greatly attracted to this man on the first visit. But what happened was, in the second meeting that happens at Dakshineswar, there Narendra got influenced by Ramakrishna. How was that meeting went on? When Naren entered the room of Dakshineswar's, Ramakrishna's room, Ramakrishna has observed this boy. He says he was astonished to see the boy coming, entering, and sitting in the corner of the room, completely disheveled hair. Along with his friends, he has come, and the friends are all neatly combed hair. But here is one boy who is completely disheveled. That means no combing has been done, no oil has been put on his head. And his clothes are absolutely not trimmed, while the other boys had trimmed clothes. And he sees, what are his eyes? That is what attracts Sri Ramakrishna. And he looks at this boy, and the eyes are completely indrawn. Today, one devotee from Edinburgh sent me a photo of Swami Brahmananji, my Paramaguru. So his photo, that photo shows the indrawn nature of his eyes. It's something wonderful. I think most of you might have seen that photo also. So such a beautiful photo I saw. I was just looking at that for a long time. Then I remembered this Avritta Chakshu, the Upanishad speaks of the indrawn eyes. That is what here. And the devotee told me, Maharaj, yes, in the language of Kathamrita, it is that Paki Tadiche. So on the eggs, on her eggs, the mother bird is sitting and looking. But where it's look, the look is vacant look. That's what we say. Even amongst us, when we are talking to each other, what happens? Sometimes you give a vacant look. That means your mind has gone inside. You are no more not knowing what is happening outside around you, what they are talking, etc. At that time, your look will seem to be vacant. And that is how Ramakrishna looked at this boy, and this boy had indrawn eyes. Not that eyes have gone inside. His drishti, his look has gone inside. So there was a vacant look. That is what Ramakrishna notices. And he tells everyone, you see, this boy can sing very well. Suddenly the whole screen disappeared. I do not know whether it has gone into the invisible realm. All the forms are all melted. I couldn't see any of the forms that I'm seeing in front of me.
Maharaj, vacant. Vacant.
Computer became blank, Yes. So that song made Ramakrishna so inspiring. Here, what we see here, is there any way to consider a disciple as a very, very in a lower status and guru as a higher status? Generally, when we go and stand before Guru and sit under the feet of the Guru, what we consider ourselves as nothing. We are nothing. And Guru is great. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, as the girl sang today in the beginning. Gurudevo Para, that Parabrahma is Sakshat Parabrahma. Such things we say, and in that attitude only we go. But you see how Naren comes here in his all majesty. He doesn't think that Ramakrishna is his guru at that time. He comes on his own, but he felt very happy to meet him. And Sri Ramakrishna takes him separately behind that curtain, and he is telling him so many things. He's telling, you are that great Nara Rishi who has come to remove the sufferings of the humanity. Like that, he praises him and he puts his hand together. You see, are we as disciples have any time Guru has said like that to us? Do you find any other instances where Guru says, the disciple is so wonderful and puts his hands together? But here you see that unique nature of the relationship comes out here, because Sri Ramakrishna knew who he was before his birth. And that's how such a wonderful relationship brings that. And Naren also comes there. Naren goes back to home and then he tells his father, I met today one saint of Dakshineswar who is called as a madman of Dakshineswar. I went to him and saw him and I found something great. He was talking really like a madman.
কথা বন্ধ হয়ে গেল।
Yes, again connected. Hope you are able to, audio is okay?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you. So, this, after hearing that music, that's Naren says that what type of things that this man is telling, really he must be mad. But then, was he able to remove the thought of him from his mind? No. Day and night he is thinking of this man. What a strange man I met in a Kali temple. What a strange man. Okay, I must go another time. Because in the college where he was studying, William Wordsworth, a great poem called The Excursion, that poem, that class was being done by the professor, William Hastie. And Professor Hastie was telling, you see, Wordsworth describes about the trance. Now, I have not seen anybody who has got a trance and how to explain to you. But one person I know very well who can be the example of the trance. And that is the saint of Dakshineswar. If you want to know what is trance, you must go there and see. And that created a great interest in Naren that I must go again to Dakshineswar and meet this man, because he has already met him in Surendra's place. It was not very, Ramakrishna was not very impressible to Naren at that time. And later, when he met him at Dakshineswar, because he was talking like a madman, that impressed him. But the trance he has not seen. So that's why third time he went. And there he could see the trance of Sri Ramakrishna. What is samadhi? You know, samadhi is translated as a trance. And that trance word, English word, of course, much abused word nowadays. It has got drugs also named as trance, you know, and bliss, etc. These words, spiritual words, are used for the naming of drugs also. So that trance of Sri Ramakrishna, Naren saw. And he understood this man is something different. One whole month, Sri Ramakrishna did not speak to him. See, during the course of his going there, suddenly Sri Ramakrishna completely neglected this man. Suppose you are coming to ashram and I welcome you and I talk to you. Suppose I don't even look at you when you come. I don't even inquire. And I just neglect you, disregard you. Will you be able to come to ashram again? You say, no, I won't go to that place where I am disregarded. But 1 month, every day Naren is coming. Ramakrishna doesn't look at him, doesn't even look at him, doesn't speak to him. Completely disregarded. After 1 month, Ramakrishna comes to Naren. Said, Naren, today I want to talk to you. And as if nothing has happened, Naren says, okay, master, yes, what do you want to ask? He says, I have been disregarding you for the whole month. Still you are coming. What is that made you to come? Because in others, what you see, they don't come like that. And Naren says, whether you recognize me or not, does not matter at all for me. I love you. That's why I come. That answer simply was euphoric to Sri Ramakrishna. A disciple is telling, you know, whether the Guru loves him or not. I will go there. I will meet you. Whether you love me or you want to meet me, that is your problem. But from my side, I love you, so I am coming to you. This is another third point, why to say that this uniqueness. Well, the Guru is completely disregarding, and this disciple is thinking, no, on my own I will go, whether he speaks or not. So likewise, you find there are several instances are there between them. I only just brought out 3 uniqueness, why we call unique relationship. And today, I'm not going to give a lecture. I want to get, because there are many elderly devotees are there, I find, learned devotees are there. So can you come out with any such unique nature in that relationship? Let me open it to the audience. You can say any instant in the life of Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, how they were unique in their binding. This bondage between the disciple and the Guru, how it became so strong.
Maharaj,
And after his passing away also. Yes?
Maharaj, when Sri Ramakrishna offers to Swami Vivekananda, I have 8 bubbling powers. Do you want them? Do you want these powers? Then Swami Vivekananda asks, are these going to help in realizing God? Then Sri Ramakrishna says, no. You can do great miracles, you can do. Then he says, no, I don't want this.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you, Amresh. It's a very beautiful incident. You know, that Guru is asking disciple, I want to give you this. So as disciples, what we do? Yes, sir, please give me. We immediately accept it. But here is a very unique way. Naren is putting another question to his Guru. Ulta, palta question. He's putting another question to him. Will these things, what you want to give me, help me in the realization of God? He said, no. But you can do a lot of wonders. I don't want. You see, Guru is offering, the disciple is telling, I don't need this. This is called Kushalosya Labdha. Ashcharya Bhakta is there. But the Kushal, the Labdha, that is the recipient, is so kushal, so talented. He knows I want to have only God realization. Nothing less than that from Guru I will accept. So the Sishya, the disciple, is putting a parameter for Guru's functioning. Something wonderful. We have never heard like that. Thank you. Anyone else? After the passing away of Sri Ramakrishna, Swamiji, went to America, etc. And at one place, he was poisoned so that he can be, only death is the punishment. So that cup, when it was coming and he was about to drink that cup, he says, I looked into the cup, I saw Sri Ramakrishna's face there. And he was protected. He couldn't drink that. So while living, Sri Ramakrishna was with Narayan all the time. And after passing away also, he was with him because he saw to it why he brought, if the child, as I told you in the beginning, was Sri Ramakrishna, and the Rishi, the great Rishi who came to our land is Swami Vivekananda. What was the purpose of bringing that child? And he says on the second meeting at Dakshineswar, Sri Ramakrishna put his hand together and tells him, Narayan, you are the Nara Rishi. You have come to ameliorate, to remove the sufferings of the humanity, he says. So that work has to be done. And millions and millions of people have been benefited after Vivekananda started a monastic order in conjunction with the devotees. And that is called Ramakrishna Mission. And how many people have been benefited so far? Sometimes we feel ashamed also to say the numbers, In our annual general meeting in Belur Math, they read out the numbers. How many recipients of medical facilities, education facilities, relief facilities, like that. It goes in millions all over the world. But then we also feel little ashamed to say that to outside world. But you see, really, and when Narayan was telling that you give me mukti, I want to realize God, I want to have moksha only, he was adamant. Now here is another way of looking at this matter, how it is unique, the relationship is. When Narayan was telling this, and Narayan says to Ramakrishna, you allow me to experience that samadhi. You have been experiencing samadhi several times in a day. At least once you allow me to experience. So at Kashipur, when Sri Ramakrishna was laid down on bed with the throat cancer, he willed that Narayan should get. So Narayan sat down in samadhi, and 3 days he forgot his body. He didn't open his eyes. He didn't get up. He didn't eat food. 3 days he was simply sitting in one posture. And other disciples who were there, they were all stunned. So they went to Ramakrishna and told him, what has happened to Narayan? Narayan is sitting quietly like that. Is he dead? So Sri Ramakrishna smiled at them and said, look, he has been demanding that for many days. So that's all that has been given to him. So the Guru has bestowed that grace for him to get that samadhi. So once Narayan says to Ramakrishna, you give me samadhi, and the samadhi bliss is so wonderful. That bliss cannot be compared to any type of ananda in this world. That bliss, I want to permanently settle down there, stay in that state of affairs. I don't want to come down. So please keep me there. He is pleading with Sri Ramakrishna. And now you see, Sri Ramakrishna is refusing him. He says, how I thought you will become the great banyan tree, giving shade to thousands of people who will come and take rest under the scorching sun. People are under scorching sun because they are suffering. And they people will come for the rest, for the shade of the tree. And then when they come, where they will go? Did he not think you as a, and are you so selfish? You want only your mukti? Are you not interested in the teeming millions who are all suffering? Work for them. This is something unique, you know. A guru is telling disciple what, you know, every guru is supposed to be very happy if a disciple says, I want God realization. Is it not? But here you find a completely different turning of event that Sri Ramakrishna denies him and says, I have locked it now. Till the work is over, the key is with me. I won't give you now. This is the unique relationship.
Maharaj, can I just recall one incident also?
Please.
I'm Setu Ramanathan from Muscat, basically.
Okay.
I think the same thing when Swamiji was with Sri Ramakrishna, he was not fully believing in form, basically, only in the formless. And I think he and Hazrat, I think, were talking very badly about the Kali and form and things like that. And then Sri Ramakrishna comes out and just hits him once on the chest, and he completely changes. And that's the time he starts believing in Kali, basically, or worship the form. So that type of change came to him through his guru, basically.
Yes. You see, this is called a sparsha. The sparsha diksha, drishti diksha, all these type of dikshas are there. By touching, a man's whole personality can be changed. So Naren was not at all, see, he was on a different level, you see. He had the conviction that God is formless. And also contributory to this was his going to Brahma Samaj. Brahma Samaj believed in a tenet that God is formless. God has no forms. And when you join the Brahma Samaj, in those days, I do not know presently they have the system or not. In those days, there was a form. One has to declare, I shall not bow down before any images. I shall not worship any images. In Bengal, which is so fond of Durga Puja, Durga images, and there the Brahma Samaj instituted one rule. You must declare in the form, sign it, and then only you will be admitted as a member. So Naren has done that. So he was not willing to go to the Kali temple and worship, etc. And when he saw Rakhal, who was his friend, and who has also signed the form, going to Mother Kali's temple and bowing down, he was very unhappy. And he took Rakhal to left and right. How do you go that after signing that form? He asked him. So whenever Naren would come to Dakshineswar, Rakhal would hide himself. He won't come in front of him. And one day Ramakrishna found out this and asked Rakhal, hey Rakhal, what has happened? When Naren comes, you are not before him and you are hiding yourself. Then Rakhal told, this was the matter, otherwise Naren will just fire me. So then Ramakrishna explains to him, see the bhava, these bhavas are different. And so slowly, Naren comes to the idea of God with form is possible. And he accepts that. And by the touch, of course, yes. And later on, it was Naren, Swami Vivekananda who took this, that in Advaita and Dvaita, in between there is a Vishishta Dvaita. These philosophical standpoints are not contradictory to each other. There was a group in India that these philosophies were contradictory. Dvaita will say Advaita is wrong. Advaita philosophers will say Dvaita is wrong. They would categorically say that it is wrong. It was for the second time in the history of Indian philosophy that Ramakrishna came and who harmonized all these paths. First was done by Sri Krishna in the Gita. Sri Krishna did that harmonizing of all these paths. And here also we find Sri Ramakrishna did again second time. What he did, these three philosophical standpoints are not contradicting one another. They are only complementing each other. This idea was brought and Swamiji took up this idea and wherever he went, he preached that. So in his later days lectures on Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, you'll find how wonderfully he believes in the form of God. Yes. And that is due to Sri Ramakrishna's teaching. Anyone else? I see many devotees here, not necessarily of Muscat. They are from other places also there.
Yes, Maharaj joined from many places.
Yes, so why not? What happened to them? All of them have become silent. They think only Muscat people have to speak, you know.
No, we are all very mesmerized with your the discourse and how you briefed all of us. We are in deep thought with it, plus all the additional discussions what took place.
So now we can, at least for 10 minutes, we can go for question answers or your remarks.
Anybody
observations.
want to ask questions, just put into the message. I will call upon them.
Yes. If one person reads it out, it's better for me.
Put
Thank you.
your questions in the message box so I can read it.
Swamiji, may I mention about an incident while others are typing a question?
Okay. Welcome.
This one incident mentioned when among disciples, Thakur was asking that will you leave me as a guru if you find somebody superior to me? And the other young boy disciples felt very emotional and say, no, how can we, or we can never do that. And then he asked Naren, and then he immediately replied, yes, I will if I ever see somebody greater than you, because the seeing greater than you itself means I have left you. And that incident was something I felt like, because he thought he had so much confidence that he has seen the greatest, that he had no
Yes.
reservation in saying that if that impossible thing happens, he will leave him.
Yes, because greater than Ramakrishna, he would never see. But then in his life, later days when he came to Banaras and he went to Pawari Baba's place, he did meet a great yogi. And Pawari Baba was the yogi. And once his mind just wondering whether he should accept Pawari Baba as his guru, this thought came into his mind.
Yeah.
But then Sri Ramakrishna stopped that. That is also another incident that Ramakrishna stopping him. When he is no more in the body, but he came to him and he stopped him. And there he says, Naren, that is Vivekananda says, that I couldn't disconnect the love that my master has shown me. The love is something wonderful. This love he has not got from anybody else, you see. What to speak of the other human beings. But this divine love that he got from his guru is something wonderful. So he continued to stay with Sri Ramakrishna. He never neglected him afterwards.
And also, as you mentioned about Ascharya Bhakta Kushala Salabdha, when he was in Dakshineshwar and Thakur only allowed him to read Ashtabhakta Samhita, and
Yes.
he was initially not agreeable to, and he kind of pleaded him. So
Yes.
that was also, I felt, very unique type of teaching and being taught, and then completely changed to this.
See, that is why I'm telling, it's not like an ordinary relationship between a guru and disciple that you see. I call it unique in the sense because there's a great turmoil between the two, as if Guru is telling something, disciple is refusing. Disciple is asking something, Guru is refusing. Something like that is going on between them. And this finally they bound together each, and now they cannot be separated. Wherever Ramakrishna's name is taken, Vivekananda's name will be taken, just like Yatra Yatra Raghunatha Kirtanam, Tatra Tatra Kritamasta Kanjali, Vashpavari Paripurna Lochanam, Maruti Namata Rakshasantakam. You see, like Maruti, like Hanuman, name must come whenever Ram's name is taken. Likewise, wherever Ramakrishna's name is taken, Vivekananda's name must be there. It cannot be separated. That's a unique relationship.
Maharaj, there is a question from Dr. Rajat Ghosh.
Okay.
How was the Holy Mother's view of this relationship? How did she continue guiding Naren after the Master's Mahaparayan?
Oh, that it's a very good question, and I can take 1 hour to speak about that. But then I will say, you see, in the early days of the Ramakrishna Mission's formation, we used to keep in our ashrams picture of Sri Ramakrishna, and to his left side, Mother, Holy Mother, picture was there. So both the pictures used to be kept. So one devotee who is wanting to create some mischief, so he comes to Mother and tells her that, you see, I went to such and such an ashram and I saw that Swami has kept 3 pictures on the altar. So she asked, what is the 3 pictures? Thakur's picture and your picture and Swamiji's picture also. In the initial stages, Swamiji's picture was not kept in the altar, you see. Later only it came up. So he is telling to Mother as if complaining about the Swami, who has kept Swamiji's picture also at the 3rd picture. That's what we see everywhere, you know. Now. But at that time, Mother was surprised, and surprised in a surprising tone. She asked, is that so? Did he keep Swamiji's photo also? Then that devotee says, now I have got the Mother. So Mother will be influenced by my idea. So he happily is telling, oh Ma, not only keeping on the altar, at the same level he has kept. So what is the meaning? You must call that Swami and rebuke him. Why did you keep Naren's photo there? That is what his intention, to make Ma rebuke that Swami. But Mother said, is it so? Oh, at the same place, at the same level. Like that she expressed a surprise. And then she heaved a sigh of relief. And then she's telling the devotee, you know, if only Sri Ramakrishna would be living now, he would not keep Vivekananda's photo in the same level. He would keep that picture on his head. You see the attitude of Mother. Mother knows the worth of Vivekananda, you know. She has heard from Ramakrishna many times about Naren's greatness and glory. And only thing is, she must have heard, because we do not find proper way of recorded things. But Holy Mother has been consistently telling what Naren does is correct. When even Mahendranath Gupta, the author of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, he is not at all agreeing with Swami Vivekananda for starting a hospital in Banaras. You know that story. How Holy Mother finally comes to a decision and tells Brahmananda what Naren has initiated is correct. Then Brahmananda, just to make yum, you know, to be little disturbing, they go there and with all the brahmacharis. And to yum, they ask, you have been opposing these hospital activities, seva activities as such. But you see, Mother is telling, oh, this is what Mother is telling. Then immediately, Yam says, oh, Mother has said, then it's okay, it's all right. That's all. They put an end to that idea that seva activities should not be undertaken. So even in the initial stages, we find some disciples also were against Swamiji's, you know, this idea. And they asked also, Swamiji, how is it you are putting these seva ideas into the young boys' mind? And Ramakrishna never said, our Guru is always telling, realize first. That is what he has told. Then Swamiji was completely tired on that day when some of the disciples were telling him like this and, crowding him and asking him, challenging him. Swamiji could not stand that. He simply became so tired and he said with a very great tone, he said, it seems you all only have understood Sri Ramakrishna. I have not understood. And then he turns back and then he says, who has understood Sri Ramakrishna? And everybody kept quiet. To understand Sri Ramakrishna in different, from the different standpoints, we have to go through actually all the disciples' life. Then only we can get the full picture of Sri Ramakrishna, who has broken all the barriers of whatever you can think of. Whether it is sex barrier, he has broken it. He felt that whether he is man or woman, no, that barrier he broke. That is a very difficult barrier for us. And another barrier he broke, education. Here is a person, Ramakrishna, who denied to go to school. He doesn't want to have any education. And he caricatured their education. This education will give me only rice and dal. I don't want that education, he said. But compare that to the disciple Vivekananda, who mastered so many subjects. And Sanskrit grammar, at the age of 6, he mastered. Can you imagine? And reading Ramayana, Mahabharata, he knew all these stories. As a young boy, Naren went to a place where Mahabharata was being recited by a Pandit. And the Pandit forgot one passage. Immediately sitting there, Naren got up and told him, this is the passage. And the Pandit was very happy because the situation was saved and he gave him some sweetmeats. So from childhood onwards, you see, only 3 days before the examination, Naren would read his textbooks. 3 days enough for him. Shrutidhar. The moment he hears, he reads. And we all read sentence by sentence only, not by word. Or maximum, you can go up to paragraph wise. You can read. But Naren used to read left side page first line and right side page last line. That is what he would look. The whole 2 pages are before his mind. You see there, that's why the relation between Ramakrishna and Vivekananda seems to be very contradicting each other's character, but they gel very much when the concentration comes. Sri Ramakrishna also was like that. Once he heard anything, it won't leave in his mind. And exactly he would repeat. So that is the great Shrutidhar, as we say. So such great qualities were there.
Maharaj, one more question is there from
Yes.
Dr. Setu Ramanathan. Would you agree, Maharaj, that their unique relationship suggested it is not always necessary to agree on all views, but can still have a divine relationship?
Yes. So you mean to say that Vivekananda did not agree to Ramakrishna in everything?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, we had differences in the beginning, right from form
Yes.
to formless.
Yes, in the beginning, yes.
Yes, right. in the beginning. But I think-
Finally, Vivekananda clearly says, what all has come out from my mouth that beneficial to humanity are his. He says. So finally, what Sri Ramakrishna spoke or not spoken, everything is Vivekananda. Actually, Swami Gambhirananda used to say that Vivekananda is a commentary to Sri Ramakrishna. If Sri Ramakrishna is the Upanishad, Shankaracharya wrote commentary. So Vivekananda's life is the commentary to Ramakrishna's teachings. That's how we see. That's why we don't see any difference between this holy trio. In the trio, no question of differences. They may appear to be different in the photographs, but all the three are exactly one and the same. That is the decision that devotees come.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Any more questions? One more question from Dr. Rajat Ghosh.
Okay.
They also had areas of difference of approach. For example, Thakur was a great lover of kirtans, whereas Swamiji had rigorous training in Hindustani classical music. He initially did not consider kirtan as a great music as it has little grammar.
Yes, that affection was there. That thought was there with Narayan, because Narayan was literally disturbed. This Vaishnavite type of kirtans, singing, dancing, Narayan had no inclination towards that. And sometimes he has spoken some harsh words also towards that of feminine type of music. That's what he says. But he wanted a very Rajasic type of music, Khayal, Drupad. Those things Swamiji was interested. There is nothing compared to that, this Vaishnavi type of singing, the kirtans. So the kirtans, he was not very fond of that. But then Swamiji was fond of singing hymns. He himself wrote a hymn, that Om Hrim Ritam, that all those stotras he wrote. Khandana Bhavabandhana he wrote. So he introduced music and kirtan in the Ramakrishna mission. So he encouraged all the brahmacharis to sing, etc. So finally, the kirtans also come into it. Nowadays, in holy time, Holi is coming on 28th. You will see Belur Math, Swamis and brahmacharis will dance also. Going around the temple, they were dancing. Even the dancing which Ramakrishna mission monks were once upon a time were ours to do that. But like ISKCON people, but then now we also dance. So the kirtans, etc. now come into it. And Swamiji did not oppose that institutionally. Why he marked the difference is because he wanted to rouse the country, from the tamas. That's why he wanted that type of music. Even for Krishna's paintings, he was taking objection. Don't always draw Krishna with Radha. Draw Krishna as if standing on the chariot and so majestically standing and telling Arjuna to go and fight. That is the spirit that he wanted to rouse the entire population. So his attitude was like that. And perhaps that was necessary.
Any questions?
Otherwise, go to vote of thanks and closing song.
Thank you, Maharaj, for
Thanks.
enlightening us today. And we have understood that unique relationship between a guru and disciple. And we are very fortunate that we have found a guru like you, and you are coming every month and giving us the light on our life. So we have little by little, maybe some 1% of our life, we can get improved with your words, and we try to implement and put our efforts for implementing whatever you have told us. And these words are directly touching to our hearts. That's how all these disciples are looking towards, in especially Muscat, when is next satsang. So we are all looking and we are preparing for this one, and we are fortunate. And thank you very much for today's giving a light on the relationship of this unique, and we understood a lot of things from this and we carry in our life. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. To everyone, Durga Durga. Is there any song? Is there? Last time somebody was singing, I left earlier.
No, Maharaj. This.
No Maharaj today.
Maharaj.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
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 Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Om.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Jai Shri Krishna Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Pranam and thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.